So I wanted to tell everyone a short story about how I was almost banned from the Regenstein Library. The reason why I was in trouble was that for one night only, the day before Valentine's Day this year, I opened up a restaurant inside the library. I run the Hearth. It's an underground restaurant on campus that pops up once a month here at the University of Chicago. So here's how it works. The dinner in February played out a little bit like this. I spent a couple hours in C-Shop planning out the menu, designing, figuring out what theme I wanted. Every dinner is themed. In fact, next month's dinner is going to have an Aramark theme, and so I'm going to be serving nothing but mouse poop. So for this dinner in February, I decided it would be great to do just desserts. I was going to serve 5 courses of nothing but dessert, tons and tons of sugar. All you needed to bring was a lot of insulin. So once I come up with the menu, I posted it on my website with a sign-up sheet. I also pretty much got posted in every Facebook group I can get my hands on. And I only pick 5 people, and each one gets to bring a +1. But for this dinner, 500 ended up signing up. So the response was absolutely incredible. And I decided that the perfect, most romantic place to have a dinner would be none other than the Regenstein Library. Only the librarians didn't know that they were going to be hosting the dinner. See, food in the library is not exactly allowed. So here's where it gets fun. I decided that I wanted to have it there, so in order to set up the restaurant in there, I needed to bring all my food, all my plates, all my other supplies, and in order to do that, I snuck them in suitcases. So I walked in the front door of the Reg with suitcases full of everything, all sorts of supplies. Only I was dealing with desserts. There was ice cream, sorbets, things that I didn't really want to melt. So there's not a photo of this, specifically because I asked them not to take a photo at the time. I actually, I walked in the front door impersonating a delivery man, carrying a refrigerator into the Reg. And the best part about that was that it worked. They let me walk in and didn't care at all. And I would bump into people I knew, and they saw me at the refrigerator and like, yep, that's just Robert having another dinner. For those 10 people that get chosen, they know the menu, but they don't know what the courses actually entail. They don't know who they're going to be sitting next to. They don't even know where the actual dinner is going to be. 2 hours before the dinner, an email will arrive in their inbox saying, be in the first floor of the Reg at 8 p.m. That's it. So at precisely that time, everyone showed up in the lobby. We introduced ourselves, got acquainted. A couple of people haven't met each other before. And everyone got settled in, and I brought them out their first course, which was under all of your chairs, or it was just passed out to you. So this first course is from Alinea. It's called Dry Caramel Salt. So from Noma in Copenhagen, I also served walnut and blackberry cream and dust. There was also, from the Fat Duck in the UK, a recipe inspired by them, chocolate wine and millionaire shortbread. The chocolate wine was pretty cool because when you live on a university, the university is really your playground. You can cook with whatever you want using whatever resources you can get your hands on. So I borrowed a centrifuge from the physics department and made chocolate wine. From 11 Madison Park, I served a course called berry salad. And finally, from the French Laundry, there was a course called, it was a chocolate cake with coffee cream. I always have a surprise course during my dinners as well. Sometimes there's like extra food. In this case, we brought in an extra guest, Unaccompanied Women. It's a wonderful a cappella group on campus. Gave the best rendition of Call Me Maybe that I've ever heard. It was a complete success. I did get in a ton of trouble, however, after the fact. What ended up happening was the photos from my dinners ended up on the UChicago admissions Tumblr account a week later, and the librarian was checking that Tumblr account, and let's just say all hell broke loose. I was called in front of librarians, administration, preservation to account for my actions. And the punishment they settled on was a pretty great punishment. I was not banned, I was not fined. Instead, I was asked to speak at the library's Preservation Week, which is a book dedicated to the preservation of a week dedicated to the preservation of books. And I was asked to speak about the importance of not eating food in the library. So there's 3 topics I'll be covering. One of them is why not to open a restaurant in the library. The second one is the damaging effects of food on books. And my personal favorite, refrigerators and library security. So don't open a restaurant in the library, it's not good. Running an underground restaurant is a lot of fun, but it also has its perils as well. These dinners, they're a ton of work, there's too much uncertainty. I mean, what if something melts? What if you don't have all the ingredients you need? What if you can't transport everything? What if the refrigerator can't get into the library? So many people ask why even bother doing it all. I mean, after all, I get in lots of trouble. But it's really, really simple. I started my dinners as a first quarter freshman, and I'm now a third quarter freshman. And a lot really has changed, but there's always been something really, really constant. It's the reason why I actually got started in doing this. And in order for me to actually talk about that, I think I really need to deviate from the script here. I miss sitting with my family. It's a feeling, when you go to college, when you leave your home, it isn't exactly easy. And I know that other people miss their families as well. They miss being at home with them. It's a feeling of being at home with the ones you care about, or even with the ones you have yet to know. It's the clinking of glasses. It's laughter straight from the heart. It's a feeling of love, of happiness, of infinity. It's not about the food, it's also about the space it creates. The dinner table is that space. Families can be built and strengthened around one. The example I'm going to give in order to help explain this is one that I hope people never have to go through. Just before my 12th birthday, I was on Catalina Island. It's an island just off the coast of California, and I was there on my 6th grade field trip. And we were at a campfire and eating s'mores, and I passed out. I fainted. So we called the paramedics. They came in, they hooked me up to an EKG, and gave me a blood sugar test. Went through the whole series of tests. And I saw one drop of blood on my finger, and I was out. Only that time, they saw something unusual. See, my mom, she was there. She saw there was a flat line on the EKG. And my heart had stopped. They airlifted me off the island immediately after, and on my 12th birthday, I was given a pacemaker. I'll never forget what happened when I woke up. There were 4 items on my hospital bed. One of them was a Medtronic teddy bear. There was a bag of giant jet-puffed marshmallows, a marshmallow gun, and then a book that was given for me from the library. It was called Wind, Sand, and Stars by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And I read the whole thing the minute I woke up, and there was this wonderful quote in there, and I hope you guys won't forget this. Life has taught us that love does not consist in gazing at each other, but in looking outward together in the same direction. And this is a very important quote for me. My mom, she was actually there at the surgery as well. And the last thing I remember before the anesthesia kicked in was crying and saying, "I love you." I did not want to leave her. And yet, strangely enough, the last time I remember that feeling and remember saying that was when I left for college. After that surgery, I'd grown very close to them over the years. I had dinner with my family constantly. We've had every awkward conversation known to man, every television show about every dysfunctional family. That is us. Conversations about that girl that I kissed today. That awkward moment when you change the channel to that one scene of Game of Thrones that you really don't want your parents walking by at that moment. They saw that as well. Or why, on a scale of 1 to Adele, my breakup was really, really that bad. As I went through middle school and high school, it finally hit me though, this sudden realization that all of a sudden I had to go away to college. My mom said that it was a new chapter in my life. I had to leave. But I wasn't quite ready to just let go. My parents, they taught me how to speak. And then I had to say goodbye. My parents taught me how to walk. I had to walk away to go to college. But my parents, they also taught me how to fly. And they said that whenever I wanted to, I could fly back and I could go home. Just before going under the gate during O Week this past year, she was there and I held on very, very tight. But no matter how far away I am, I can always pick up the phone, and right there is my mom, my dad, my sister. My mom, she was the one who taught me how to cook. She showed me that cooking was an expression of love, an expression of trust. I used to stand in the kitchen for hours and watch while she was, busy. And this didn't really become serious for me actually around till later in high school. When I was, after my summer of junior year, I spent 2 summers at the University of Oxford in the UK. And I was helping out in a cancer lab over there, radiation oncology. And it was the first time that I was really truly alone for a while. And I had to stay there and I had to cook for myself. I had to take care of myself. And because I was in this place where there's new cultures available, new cuisines, I got to be creative, while I was trying to sustain myself on, £1, 50 pence a day. And it was really, really fun. But while I was there, it also introduced me to the concept of the underground restaurant. So the underground restaurant originally started in Cuba in the 70s, was encouraged as part of democratic reforms. People would open up their house and have a restaurant in their living room, and strangers would walk in and eat dinner, like it was just a normal thing. But it was truly symbolic. The concept, when I heard about this concept, I realized that this was something I wanted to do when I got to college. Partly because I wanted to capture that feeling that I knew that was not going to be there once I left my family. And so the way I had figured it out was this. Take 12 people, all people with .edu email addresses, so students, professors, grad students, you name them, stick them all at a table, complete strangers, and make them communicate. The goal was to create an environment which would encourage collaboration. It would allow people to be comfortable and sit down. The idea was, and as far-fetched as this actually sounds, was to create at one center point at the dinner table a family, all from complete strangers. And for some weird reason, it actually worked. In normal daily life, it is impossible to have dinner with your family. Even before college, I've seen how hard it is. My mom, she was working. My dad was working. My sister had theater practice. It was difficult. There's ramen, you have fast food, power bars, supplements. Some guy even has a vision of a pill that will incorporate a full meal, simply reducing the amount of time people will waste eating together. For all of us, food really comes so much easily for us now. It used to be such a sacred event. You bring out a Thanksgiving turkey and everyone gathers around it like it's a magnet. It's really, truly astonishing. There's a theory from a professor at Harvard, a guy by the name of Richard Wrangler, I believe, who says that cooking is what makes us human. With the discovery of fire, it it changed us completely. It affected us biologically, so we have smaller guts, bigger brains, but it also affected us socially. It gave us a center point with which we could gather around and share food and cook. The fire was that center point. But over time, it really evolved. The Spartans would gather in mess halls to talk about war strategy. In Asian countries, there was the politics were discussed at the tea houses. You had Native Americans would pray, they would offer a prayer of thanksgiving for fallen animals before eating them. This sacredness that used to happen with eating, fast food has killed that. Food is now part of a battle for our time, and we need a quick bite to eat just to move on through the day. And there's no ceremony in it anymore. So what does this all have to do with an underground restaurant that some bored 19-year-old came up with to help make college more fun? It's simple, really. We used to gather at the dinner table. We now have P-sets, we now have assignments. People don't have a reason to sit down together anymore. They have something else to go do, that, you name it, whatever it is. Finding the time to sit down together at the same time, at the same place, eating the same food, as I said, it's a battle. So the underground restaurant now, in today's day and age, is seen as trendy. It's seen as new and exciting. I mean, I've had 600 people sign up for just 12 spots for these dinners, and it continues to climb. And I'm astonished by it every day. But it also represents something unique in that it presents a reason for people to sit down together again. And that is truly the goal. It's a reason to put away your phones, to connect, to smile, to talk. It encourages collaboration, conversation at the table that wouldn't happen otherwise. A reason to collaborate, and it's simply beautiful. But by filling those seats with students, you actually find something very unusual. At my table, you'll endure a lot of the same awkward conversations you have with your parents. It's very, very similar. And it actually succeeds in some weird way of creating a family. I see people talking, they have projects afterwards. I'll encounter them all the time. That one person they met at that dinner table, they're now working with this biology major. And it's wonderful. But it's also a promise, a reminder even, that once upon a time, your parents did that for you. And maybe, just maybe, you'll do that again in the future. Dinner is really about giving. It's all about the time that we give. The food, in my opinion, is secondary to the space that it creates. It's about shared experience. It's about making the time to connect with one another. It might solidify strong connections in life or create opportunities for new ones, but it comes down to the time that's shared. It is all about the time that is given. Now, I take it to an extreme level, and I spend 17 hours on average cooking for these dinners. But I do so because I know that you'll see smiling faces. You'll see happiness. You'll see everything you saw once at your dinner table before, way back when in your childhood. Calories can be erased and regained, but time only moves forward. We only have so many seconds. There are so many promises that we try to keep with our family and our friends, but they pass. And believe me when I say this, we don't know how much time we truly have left. And those moments that we strive to give, they often occur in one place, our dinner table. And I cook for these moments.